I'm going to get started here. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending. Thanks for showing up. Nothing worse than trying to speak to empty chairs. So we're all, the topic today is working with unions to get GPS tracking. What a topic. It's probably the biggest challenge we have as a company, as a GPS provider. And the reason why is because typically unions will use it as a bargaining tool to get something in return. How many fleets here have unions, unionized drivers? Or yeah, so quite a bit. Have you run across this topic? A lot of headaches. Yeah. I was just telling someone earlier. I was offering it was a small city in California. I can't remember which city it was. They had to go through 52 approvals just to do a free pilot. So they had their fair share of headaches. So today's topic is a challenging one. I hope everyone gets the most benefit out of this, and I certainly would like to have some input too, because it's a live topic. So how do we start with introducing GPS to unions? Well, there's a couple ways of doing it. One of them is, first of all, get your drivers on board early and educate the drivers. Let them know what your program is. And it really comes down to good coaching. So I'm going to give you an example of what coaching looks like. And this is a really good play right here.
Webster thinks that he's just in a zone, and roll is barbecue. This is professional football, and we have seen some very amateurish coverage.
On national TV, roll is barbecued, right? Horrible. Now, is Roll a throwaway player? No, he was a former first-round draft pick. He's on a 5-year, $37 million contract. He's a good player. But that play fell apart for two reasons. The players didn't recognize the play, and the coaches didn't recognize the play. So eventually it all falls back to the coaches. Does that make sense? So how do we translate that into coaching the drivers? So you go over here, coming up with a game plan, okay? Coaching has to be positive message. It can't be negative, okay? It's all about getting results. That's the most important thing. Sometimes simple as raising awareness to something they had no idea that they were doing. I have a personal issue with public speaking. I was umming all the time. I didn't even know it until my boss said, "Hey, Mike, great presentation, but you said about 50 times." So I coached my way out of it. So now I don't even say anymore. So call centers record phone calls. Why? It's coaching. What they want to do is they want to have a unified message to all their customers from one customer to next. That's coaching. It's not picking on your call center. What you're trying to do is come out with the best product. Teachers, guidance counselors, their job is to coach children. Why? Because we want the kids to succeed as much as possible, recognizing their strengths and focusing on their weaknesses and building them up to be better and stronger. My sales manager coaches us as a team. It's fantastic. Why? Because we have to have a unified message across the whole organization to best represent our product. So how do we good coaching techniques to GPS? Unions, they're a huge challenge. But you know what? Their number one job is to protect their members, right? That's their sole purpose. But not all objections are union related. Now, trust me, I have 2 teenagers that are driving. I get objections every day. The big brother, you don't trust me, I'm a good driver, your stuff doesn't work, I wasn't speeding, all that stuff. I get it all the time. But really, the most important thing is, neither of my kids have had a speeding episode in 3 months, okay? In fact, you look at this report, that's a 3-month report. The 2 speeders happened to be me and my wife. I brought that up to him too. You know, nobody's perfect. But I'm really proud of that. That's really important. You know, it's really about safety. You know, I know where they're at and they're safe. So good coaching is really important. If I can coach a teenage 18-year-old daughter that already knows everything, then you know, we're doing pretty good, right? So I want to talk really quick. What I do is, these are my kids. I know they're safe. I spend 5 minutes with them once a month, and I give them their report. We have a scorecard system we use. It's really important. You know, driver safety, aggressive driving. You know, you want to track all that stuff, and just sit down with them. It's a real easy conversation, and it's usually very rewarding. I don't ever threaten to take the car away unless I see, you know, 100 miles an hour or something stupid, right? But it's all about a positive message and making sure the kids are aware that, you know, this is important to do this. So what are the benefits? Well, there's a lot of benefits to having a GPS system. And this is what you want to communicate to your drivers. This is the benefit of the system, you know? Better PM scheduling. What does it do? Saves money. Less wear and tear on the vehicles. Better fuel controls. What does it do? Saves money. Reduced idling. That seems to be the number one thing that people want to talk about when they do implement a GPS program. And it's amazing what you could do. And these are just basic functionalities of any GPS provider. Right-sizing your fleet. You know, being able to get rid of a half dozen vehicles that aren't being utilized, that's a huge savings, right? How do you do that? Well, you can't do it without a GPS program. So these are things that you want to coach the drivers and make them aware of the program and what your goal is. And obviously, spending less money on your fleet frees up your budget for what? Maybe better bonuses, maybe pay raises. Maybe they're driving newer vehicles. Maybe that's important to the drivers. Rewarding your drivers that are you know, good drivers versus bad drivers. You know? Plus, you can challenge complaints against the public. You know, we're all driving logoed vehicles, right? Every city has a logoed vehicle. It's an easy target for the public to say, hey, your guy was speeding, he drove me off the road. Maybe the guy was just having a bad day. But knowing how that driver's behaving and either exonerating him or confirming the complaint gives you an awesome opportunity to coach that driver. Think about a customer calling in and saying, hey, your guy was speeding. He was doing 85 miles an hour ripping through town. You pull up the report, you see he wasn't speeding at all. That gives you an opportunity to sit down with that driver and say, hey man, I just got a complaint about you, and I just proved him wrong. Good job, way to make us look good. Or, hey, you were speeding, let's work on this, okay? Either way, you can make it a positive message. Any questions on that? No? I'm gonna be the only one speaking? Okay. So, last month, my son, distracted driver, rear-ended a minivan with his Jeep. You can literally see the imprint of the fog lights. He just tattooed it. Pretty scary, you know. He's a 16-year-old kid. First accident, freaking out. What was nice about it is I was on site, I was able to pull up on my phone and show the officer that he was doing 12 miles an hour, okay? He wasn't on his phone was turned off in the glove compartment, so he did everything right. He just got distracted. You know, he's 16 years old, he saw a squirrel, right? Who knows? He didn't even get a citation, which he rear-ended this car. But the most important thing is, she didn't claim a false medical claim. You know, and it was really important for me to show her that I know how fast he was going when he hit you. Now my insurance went up $100, but you know what? It could have been a lot worse if she made an injury claim. So that's another positive message, you know. Even though bad things happen, you can turn it into a good thing. There's my son's Jeep. So, you know, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, you can confirm or deny the claims. It's really important to do that. So now I'm going to tell you a really cool story about how GPS can save lives. This is a true story. This is one of our customers. Anybody know what this is? Anybody see this? So this is the state line. This is Kansas. This is Oklahoma. This is the highway, 172. They don't need. It's called a correction curve. Now imagine you're doing 65 miles an hour in a fully loaded 18-wheeler, and you happen to come up across this, and the sign is about right there. Well, it's a true story that one of our customers, it was a seafood distributor, had multiple rollovers, and 3 of them were fatalities. So very sad, very important thing. It became the first and the most important topic for the entire company. CEO all the way down the organization. We need to do something. They approached us with an idea. Hey, we need to be able to have some kind of in-cab feedback for our drivers. We want to alert our drivers before this thing shows up by a half mile. How do we do that? Well, it's really cool, and this is a video showing it. So what we did, I'll back up. We created a geofence around this area. So all these curves have the geofenced area. As soon as the vehicle enters the geofenced area, it comes to our database. Oops, sorry. Comes to our database, goes back to the driver, beeper goes off, and the light flashes in the dash. Gives them plenty of warning. They know what's coming on. This next video is a test. So we tested it out for 90 days. They did a free pilot with us. Tested it out for 90 days. Oh, there it is. There's geofence right there. Hear that? That's the in-cab beeper that he was warned a half mile before the curve. Now we're going to go ahead and do another one. Took 11 seconds for that to work. The most important thing is, anyone can geofence and set alerts. The timing has to be exact. Think of the liability that everyone's taking here to ensure that this is right, to make sure that your alarms and alerts are coming through right. I think this one takes 14 seconds, which is incredible. And that's what the driver hears and sees the light flashing in the dash. So it's a great story, and we're really proud of the fact that after a full year, they haven't had one accident. So it's working. In the 90-day period, we did multiple tests with 98% accuracy. That was good enough. So pretty good story. We're pretty proud of that. And again, customers coming up with ideas and saying, hey, this is our problem. Work with your providers. You know, if you have a provider already and you have issues, talk to them. And if they don't talk to you, if they don't give you ideas, find another provider. You know, they have to learn about your business. It's really important for them to understand who you are as a business, what your goals are. You know, maybe some of you are concerned about speeding, maybe not. Maybe some are. Maybe you're concerned about seatbelt usage. Maybe you're concerned about idle time. You know, find out what's important to you and develop a program around it. Coach your drivers. Before you do that in the implementation phase, you really need to have a game plan. Don't just say, I want GPS telematics. Know what you're looking for. And again, lean on your provider for ideas. We have over 120,000 vehicles out there today. So we know this market really well. We know how we can help you. Any provider can do that. Focus on KPIs. Everybody know what a KPI is? Key Performance Indicator. If you have an idle policy, say 15 minutes, that's your KPI. So what you want to do is you want to be able to get to your drivers so that the idle time does not exceed 15 minutes. Does that make sense? Focus on that as a KPI. Speeding, same thing. Speeding, if you have a policy that says no 5 miles over the speed limit, or no exceeding 70 miles an hour, whatever your policy is, set that as a KPI, work with your GPS provider, make sure that they can help you attain that goal. Utilization. You know, maybe you want to make less trips, right? Optimizing your routes. That's less miles driven, that's more life from the vehicles. And again, like I mentioned before in the utilization as well, you can downsize your fleet. Maybe you know, with a utilization report, you have a 30,000 foot view of what your fleet looks like. And if you need to downsize your fleet, pick up the ones that aren't being used, or you can reshuffle the deck and move those vehicles around to extend the life of the vehicles that are being utilized. So there's a whole bunch of ways you can do this. It's not just dots on the map, everybody. I'm telling you, there's so much you can do with this data right now. It's unbelievable. And it's always growing, it's always changing. And it's really kind of limited to what your imagination is. So set expectations based on your policies. okay? Whatever you're speeding, idling, whatever your policies are, set those expectations with your drivers up front in the beginning before you even decide to go with a GPS program. Or if you have a GPS program, communicate. That's the best thing that you can do with unionized drivers is communicate. Keep that path open at all times. When you're coaching, award publicly. Hey, Sam hasn't had one idle episode in 30 days. Good job, Sam. Knuckles, right? Now, if he has an issue, pull him aside and say, hey, man, we need to talk about this. And show him the data that supports the claim. Again, and make it a positive message. Say, hey, Sam, you know, you got a couple hours of idle here. We really need to watch that, okay? If you can do that, thank you. You know, you're a valuable part of the team. Make it a positive message. Anyone know who this guy is? Oops, my slide's out of sync. Anyone know who this guy is? John Wooden. He's hailed as the best coach ever to coach basketball. Day one of practice. And you can hear, I don't know if anyone knows the story, Bill Walton is you know, Hall of Fame NBA player. Tells the story best. But day one of coaching was, everyone take off your socks, take off your shoes, now put them on. Right? So simple. Start with the basics. Why? Because if you don't put your socks on right, you have a wrinkle, or your shoe's not tied, you're going to get blisters, right? If you get blisters, you can't practice. If you can't practice, you can't play. If you can't play, we don't win. So start at the very beginning. You know, tell your team, hey, we're really concerned about speeding or idling, or you know, we're spending a lot of money that I think we can save. So this is how you transition your drivers. And again, start with the basics. Make sure they know the policies very clearly. Have meetings. Discuss it. Discuss your programs, what your goals are in implementing a GPS program, and get them on board. So here's an example of customers that didn't start with the basics. It's a 3,200 unit fleet, Northwest Public Utility. And they just did an RFP. They didn't have any goals, they didn't have anything. So they did an RFP. Part of that RFP was doing a 1-year pilot. We participated in that pilot. Because it was an RFP, we were restricted to communicate with anybody. So we just provided devices. They installed them. We could see where the devices were going, but there was no coaching process. They just threw devices in the vehicles and they said, okay, we're good. Well, what happened was there was no improved behavior. There was no savings in idle time or speeding or optimization. They didn't have that because they didn't have a program. Once we were awarded the bid, that's when the doors opened up. We were able to talk to them, and we were able to work with them on setting those basic KPIs. Again, speeding, idling, and utilization. And once we get in there, and by the way, any GPS provider will help you with those 3 basic KPIs. So it's a success story. What we found out is that within the first month on speeding, they attained their goal. So this is their policy. That's their policy. You can see it went right down the first month, and they sustained it over the next 6 months. Okay? That's through the coaching. It's the most important thing. Simple little thing. Communicate to your drivers. Show them these reports. You win. Same thing with idling. So this is idling. Now it took a little longer to get down to the idle time, but they did finally reach their goal. But the most amazing thing is their idle time was achieved the 2 highest months of the year. So, you know, again, coaching, talking to your drivers, showing them awareness, showing them the metrics, showing them the reporting, making it public information. See you guys. You can attain this goal. And then utilization, miles logged. This is when the coaching began, okay? This is the pilot. There was no improvement in the pilot. As soon as they started coaching, look what happened. They were able to maintain that and keep that. That's a huge savings. You know, you're looking at millions of miles driven every year. This company sent us this information. They had the oldest fleet. Their average vehicle was 13.5 years. So in their industry, they were the oldest fleet, and at one time, the most expensive fleet. Within the first year, they achieved 160% ROI. $1.4 million in savings in 1 year. And again, all they're focusing on was the speeding, idling, and the utilization. That's huge. And the other thing is, the drivers are safe. You know, the seatbelts were on, they had a good program, communicate with the drivers. They were so excited. They had no idea what the benefits of the GPS system, they just knew they needed one. So, again, working with your provider is the key thing. Hey, help us figure out a way to have improvement in these just three basic areas. Any questions on that? So, the key message here, if we give something our attention, it invariably improves. It's a great message. And this is something they sent to us. This is the message they send to their drivers. You know, and again, it's huge savings. Get information from your current provider. Who has a current provider? Okay. Current provider on getting the benefits out of the system as much as you possibly can. Share data. You know, we have a website where we actually, it's there. We have white papers, we have all the resources. You know, when we have a success story with one of our customers, we share it. We want you to share it. You don't compete against each other. There's no need to, right? Understand and know the data, come up with a policy, work with your provider, and it's a win-win situation. I don't know what my time is. I hope I didn't go too quick. Yeah, 20 minutes. That's not bad. You want to do it again? Any questions? I'd love to get you guys to talk about, you know, what happened with your program. You know, the ones that had GPS and introducing it to drivers. Anyone got a story? Difficult?
It's hard because no matter how you talk about coaching it, it'll always be seen as that big brother carrot. There's no carrot, it's just a stick.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like it really, a lot of it comes down to that trust level, what you've got with your drivers. How do you use it? How do you implement it? Trying to allow for a window of saying, hey, we're going to try to allow some time. It's not just going to be right away cracking down. We're going to try to encourage proper behavior, like you said. If you don't measure it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And then
exactly.
And it doesn't. It will improve, but then you also have to make sure that you give the drivers a chance to change.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I had to do a free pilot, and I had to go through 52 approvals. It's just, you know, ridiculous, but it is what it is. And a lot of times I use it as a collective bargaining tool as well. We'll let you put GPS in, but you're gonna have to give us a raise or, you know, more benefits or something like that. But, you know, if you bring it up to them properly, there's a good way of attacking it and working with them. Anybody else have a good story about? I mean, how did you get GPS installed with your unionized drivers? Nobody?
We had to have a memorandum of understanding too. So we had to MOU.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you have? Yeah. Yeah, we do. We integrate with the GIS mapping, like Esri. Salt Lake City is one of our customers, and they have a customer-facing map on the saltlakecity.gov, and it's a snow map. You click on it, and now you can see the map and where the vehicles are, so you can see the snow trails. Yeah. No, we can tell you plow up, plow down, or salter on or off, but you know we're not going to give you proof. But you know it's a tight market, obviously. You know, well said, right? You like that? That's politically correct. Yes. Yeah, we actually have some on our website. Yeah, be happy to. Yeah, we're at both booth 2028. Love to show you. We can give you some handouts too. Yeah. And again, you know, ask your provider to work with you. If you don't have a provider that's helpful, find a new one. There's a lot of competition out there.